Yeah. Now, can you talk to me a little bit about what the storm was like there, and what did you expect? What was it like, and what was the aftermath like for the people who lived there?
Well, we had Hurricane Rita in '05, just a few years earlier, and had a massive evacuation. And the people, the government that was in place in Galveston, totally dysfunctional, was afraid of ordering another evacuation that would have resulted in, well, actually people died in the Hurricane Rita evacuation. One thing you don't think of when you're evacuating nursing homes and things, you're evacuating old people who are close to death anyway. So the death toll continued for months after Hurricane Rita, and also after Hurricane Ike. But as far as the actual storm approach and covering the island, it started out much like I'm sure you all have evacuations a lot. I mean, I know that Texas has more storms.
No, we've had very few evacuations.
Yeah, so it's a regular thing for us. But there were people who were lackadaisical about evacuating. Some remembered Rita, some waited till the last minute. What they just were not expecting, and what our dysfunctional leaders did not warn us about, was the storm surge. When the water started rising, people who had not evacuated were sometimes stuck where their car was. There were people who had to swim from their vehicle to shelter. So the first indication that this was really bad, actually, Gentry Youth Service evacuated. We abandoned the dysfunctional city of Galveston government and went to the Galveston County Emergency Operations Center on the mainland in a safe place in a building that was designed to withstand a Category 5 hurricane. So that's where we spent the time, and it actually ended up becoming the county's public information office after the storm, but that's another story. But as we were leaving the island, my wife and I, we packed the car, we were headed off the island, and I thought, you know, we did not lock the garage door. So we went back, because whenever you evacuate, not everybody leaves. A lot of people who have no compunctions about looting stay. So we went back to make sure the door was locked. As we were getting there, we had to drive through water that had risen from the time we had left our home and office. And that was the beginning of the 7 or 8 foot surge that actually covered the downtown and destroyed all these buildings. Fortunately, our home and office was on the 2nd floor, so we were able to return to.
But a lot of people had their homes severely impacted.
There are buildings now that are not yet. They're still completely renovated. But there were people away from their homes for months.
Yeah, we were out of our home for 5 months, and quite a few people here are still out. Which really leads into my next question. Many people are back. Some people are back. Quite a few people are back because they've had either insurance, or if their insurance wasn't enough, as was the case with many people, myself included. They were strongly encouraged to apply for SBA loans, which many of us did. I did. In hindsight, I don't know if I would have, but I did. And some people got them, some people didn't. We did, and rebuilt. Okay, and then we had people who didn't have insurance, who couldn't rebuild, or who didn't get enough to rebuild, or significantly, a lot of people who were told that their homes were more than 50% damaged and could not be rebuilt and had to be either mitigated, lifted and then rebuilt, or rebuilt and lifted, or knocked down and replaced with FEMA compliant homes, you know, that are
Sure.
8 feet up or 9 feet up, and they just don't, the insurance wasn't enough, and maybe they didn't get the SBA loan, or they didn't want it because they didn't feel they could pay it back, and so a lot of those people are stuck. And then a third component is New York. Well, you have these. You have ICC, which is a money that you can get if your home is more than 50% damaged, and it caps out at $30,000. Then you have housing mitigation grants, which I believe, which are federal, and they're just getting to the Irene people now with those. We've read about people who were awarded money. Now it's nice to be awarded money, but that's not the money. That's an award. That's a message. That's a piece of paper. That's not the money yet. So that money, from all I know, has not started to flow yet. And then to bridge that gap between now and whenever that money becomes available, if indeed it does, are something that New York, well, I think it's HUD money that came to New York and is being called New York Rising. And to my knowledge, the only way that's been spent so far is on personnel, which I understand they do need personnel, to caseworkers and so forth, to meet with all of us, and on commercials. So beyond that, a lot of us here are confused and frustrated about that. And it may just be that it's a slow-moving animal that is being invented under our feet as we go, and it will happen, we hope. But those are the components. You know, you have insurance and you have SBA, which, you know, is a loan, although it's referred to as a duplication of benefits, and so people don't get grants because they took the loans. And then you have these loans which, who knows when they'll come. And so I'd like to hear about what the experience has been for the residents of Galveston.
Well, there's Community Development Block Grant Program, the HUD funds.
Yep.
That has been that was a circus. Basically, I believe that those projects, the rebuilding of the homes, are proceeding not as fast as a lot of the homeowners would like. Into the mix, I don't know if you have public housing in your area.
I don't believe that we have public housing in Long Beach, to my knowledge. Elsewhere on the south shore of Long Island, we're a barrier island that's on Long Island, which is kind of a very large barrier island also. So I know there's public housing elsewhere on Long Island, but I don't know much about it because I know about Long Beach.
There's a sizable segment of the population that considers that public housing does not belong on a barrier island. It's not a safe place to live. People who don't have transportation, they're just not. It's not a good place to put people who are in poverty or who lack the means to survive in a dangerous place. However, a group called themselves the Housing Advocates, or about 2 or 3 groups. They got involved into the mix, and the Community Development Block Grant funding got tied up with the public housing funding, and it just is a big mess. The Texas General Land Office found itself getting involved in the program. The whole project of rebuilding public housing in Galveston cost one Galveston mayor his job. He was the person who replaced Lyda Ann Thomas, who was the mayor during Ike. Joe Jaworski, who is the grandson of Leon Jaworski, was elected mayor, and his big thing was restoring the public housing using the federal funds. And the community opposition to replacing the public housing caused the whole community development block grant program to stand in jeopardy. So the funding for the projects you're talking about, restoring homes that are not associated with public housing, it all got held up. And I believe that everything is now moving smoother. But it's a case where you've got so many government agencies all at cross purposes with each other, in a disagreement over what the final result should be.
So, would you say, from you're observing your community there, that a sizable number of people, percentage-wise, have had their homes rebuilt or are having them rebuilt by the community block development grants, which I think is the same as the New York Rising. It's HUD money that's distributed by the state.
Yeah, I can't tell you what the numbers are, but I'd say that there's a significant number we have.
And how long would you say it was before you saw that? We're only a year out. Okay, you're 5 years out. I know I'm asking you to generalize about something that involves a lot of details for a lot of people, but
well, I did not have a particular involvement in that. I didn't have, our property was not involved in that. I did cover meetings where people were complaining, but I think it sounds pretty similar to what you're experiencing. There were no homes being built in the first year, and there's still each day, each meeting in Commissioners Court, there's an update on Hurricane Ike recovery. So it's still going on.
Okay. So let's move on. So that's at least gives us some hope that, however slow moving this is, it's moving, and I'm sure people are keeping the pressure up on their elected and appointed leaders, as I know is happening here. We're a lot of squeaky wheels up here.